And I think college should lead you towards the good, the true, and the beautiful.
You think it should lead towards beautiful things?
If your idea of beauty is just the aesthetic, then you're not having a great college experience.
I don't like the concentration camps, believe it or not.
But hold on, you don't like, so was that objectively bad? The fact you can't answer this question shows that college is a scam, because
what? That just makes me worried about consequences. No, it makes me worried about consequences, you little face man.
The mark of an intellectual fool is throwing around pejoratives when they don't have wisdom. Remember that.
Welcome back to Rattlesnake TV, guys. In this video, we're going to be watching Charlie Kirk go back and forth with a college student about education, meaning, and wisdom. Now, I really enjoy what Charlie Kirk does at these campuses. And this is definitely one of my favorite clips that I've seen of him, because when he's covering these topics, I really do think it's when he's at his best, and he's spitting some crucial facts in this one. So let's get into the first bit where they're talking about the nature of education and what that should really mean. And there is a lot of irony here. So watch and listen very closely, and then I'll check in a few minutes.
I was hoping we could talk a little bit more about how you see college as a scam.
Okay, I think we did that, but sure. So.
If you want to talk about something else, we can talk about something else. I was just curious.
Okay, what would you like to pinpoint on that?
Yeah, well, I think a big part of your issue is that people are spending a lot of money and that you feel like they're not getting the equivalent of all the money that they go into debt or that they have to borrow to make it worth it. Well, in that case, I think education is really awesome. I think it's really valuable. I think education's the only way that someone like you is able to write a book is because someone taught you how to read and write. And education on all levels is great. So that's not that one, I don't think that's your issue with college, right?
Do you know where I went to college?
I don't think that's important right now. Let me just...
Yeah. I didn't.
I'm just talking I said read and write, like who taught you to read?
No, I agree. I didn't say grade school's a scam.
Can we just keep going? All right.
I said college is a scam, not grade school.
Right.
Keep going.
So we're talking about the financial part, right? So do you think that college should be free then, so that everybody can get like a free education?
No.
Why not?
By the way, what's happening in college is not an education.
Well, okay. You don't think that college should be free because it's not an education? If it was...
no.
Wait. If it was an education in your eyes, would you think that should be free, or
what do you mean by free? You mean paid by somebody else?
Well, sure, taxpayer dollars would go to pay for it.
So paid by somebody else.
Sure.
Sure. No, I don't believe that your schooling should be paid by somebody else.
I want my taxes to go to schooling for everybody. I think education's great. I don't want my taxes to go to fund wars. I don't want my taxes to go to the military or the police budget, but I don't get to pick.
You don't want any military?
I don't think that it should go to fund the military like that. I want my taxes.
You don't want any police force?
I want my taxes to go towards education because I think education is valuable. Do you think that education should be paid for?
So define education, I'm curious.
Sure, it's just the, I would probably say that education right now is the ability to go out and learn different mindsets, to be introduced to different subjects, to have the opportunities to talk about these things with a lot of different kinds of people. I think that's the really cool part about college. Someone like you can come here and have different opinions. My history teacher just talked about how he does this whole like, I'm a conservative, old school conservative act, and then one of my other teachers, she's like, I'm a bleeding hippie, you know? There's like a lot of opportunities to just be introduced to subjects you didn't even know were a thing. Like, I didn't know that semiotics was a thing until my last philosophy class, and I think that's really interesting. So just the idea that you get to go out to this place and you get to get taught about a bunch of different ideas, are you against that being available for everyone?
Oh, I have a completely different view of what education is. So education in Latin means to lead forth.
Okay.
Your idea of education is the new age, which is we're going to have like a buffet line of postmodern ideas and all ideas are treated the same. I don't believe that at all. College means partnership in Greek, and going back to education, you must lead forth towards something. And I think college should lead you towards the good, the true, and the beautiful.
Okay.
It should lead you towards things.
You think it should lead towards beautiful things?
Of course.
Like beautiful things? Like, you think that we should go out after college and be like, where's the prettiest thing that's around me?
If your idea of beauty is just the aesthetic, then you're not having a great college experience.
What's your idea of beauty? My bad.
That which is perfected in being.
Okay, so you really like the Greek ideas and like the Roman ideas of like the idea of perfection and perfect harmony, because that's like a very Greek and Roman way of approaching.
It's Western, which is the civilization we currently live in.
Okay, but that
let me finish.
From Greek and Roman
Of course, you're right. So the good, the true, and the beautiful are the three things that every college student should grapple with. Do you think in this current university that is what you're currently grappling with? That the focus of your education is enriching yourself to get closer to what is good, what is true and beautiful?
See, I don't engage with you on the ideas that good, true, and beautiful are something that can be defined and something that can be taught.
You're perfect evidence of why I think college is a scam.
Why do you... Wait, I don't...
Because of course they could be defined and they should be sought after.
Okay, so the good, the true, and the beautiful. 3 words that I talk about a lot on this channel. And Charlie brings up the etymology of the word education there, which in Latin is educere. I would take it one step further when talking about the definition of education, and I'm sure Charlie would agree with me about this, and say that it should necessarily be an enlightening experience. So to bring forth and enlighten. And this is particularly important when it comes to college because it's not like tertiary education where you're learning the basic skills. This is the period when you go from being a child to an adult and when you start to try and implement a little bit of wisdom into your life. Knowledge and understanding of the eternal, the unchanging, the true, the good, and the beautiful. But with modern colleges, they actually learn the opposite. They're sheltered from these ideas. And they're taught the principles of postmodernism to deconstruct everything and to oppose the good, the true, and the beautiful.
What do you think about starting an initiative on campus here at UK to be more inclusive to women who have penises, and we can put urinals in the women's restroom for them?
Sounds fantastic.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Okay. What about, let's take it one step close, more for inclusivity here on campus and put free tampons and pads in the men's restroom for men who have periods?
Sounds great.
Okay.
I mean, she's wearing a cross and a rosary around her neck. She's obviously not a Christian, but this is meant to be like a really subversive action. It's meant to challenge norms and make her some like brave contrarian. These people are puppets of an ideology that rejects beauty, and she's just such a perfect example of it.
You think it should lead towards beautiful things?
I mean, you can see that she's actually a reasonably pretty girl. If you took away all of the goth makeup and whatever the hell else is going on there, you put her in a nice sundress, she'd be quite beautiful. But then if she did that, then she'd be conforming to the conventional Eurocentric beauty standards. No. So instead, they choose to make themselves a walking, talking representation of darkness, death, and chaos. And it's no coincidence that these college students very often leave the experience looking like non-binary crackhead activists, because that is perfectly synonymous with what they're being taught. And like I said, it's the opposite of what they should be taught, which actually, once upon a time, is how it was before the institutions were completely and utterly captured by cultural Marxists.
Okay, so you think that something like the beautiful, the perfect, like
Yes.
something like goodness can be defined in quantifiable, teachable. Oh, because you're Christian, I forgot. You guys think
Yes.
that there's like
Yes,
a binary to
well, no,
goodness.
there's a hierarchy, not a binary.
Oh,
there's an
okay.
ultimate perfection. The ultimate
Okay.
perfection would be that there's a creator who loves you, who
Okay.
made you in his image and loved you so much to come down and take the broken flesh form, live a perfect life, die and rise from the dead so that you might live forever. There is nothing more perfect, good, true, or beautiful than that.
Okay, so I don't really engage with religion like that, but what about just the idea that you get to go to a place, you get taught about different subjects, you get the opportunity, okay, I'm sorry, because you don't have access to all these things wherever you come from. You get the opportunity to talk to people who know a lot about these different subjects and get to learn about that. You don't think that
No,
should be free or like provided
First of all, I don't
for?
think it should be free, and I don't think that's what education should be or what it once was when it was at its best.
When do
see-
you think it was at its best? Because we have like the Indian Golden House of, I think it was called the
Okay.
Baghdad Golden House of Wisdom. We have the Greek and Roman, and they had their whole thing about how you have to learn astrology at the same time as learning your education. We
Correct.
have like so many different points of learning and knowledge. I think people just love to learn. I think learning is inherent to what we want to do with our lives.
So two thoughts.
Guys, if you have not liked the video, I would really appreciate it if you do that. Subscribe to the channel, of course, if you're getting value from the content, and also check out the reality-based store. We're always dropping new merch, guys. The most based merch in the world, probably the best clothing in the world. You can check out the catalog below, see what you like. We got the Based and Blessed. We got the Rattlesnake TV logos, which look awesome on a shirt, mugs, hoodies, and so much more. And also, it's a way to support the channel and keep me safe from the ever-present threat of demonetization. So find those links below, and let's get back to it.
That is the first line of Aristotle's metaphysics, which is all people seek to know, that something within us wants to learn. So to answer your question, when was education at its best? It
No,
at
that
its-
was you were the one
Can I
who's like,
finish?
education is not at their best here. You're like, this is your new age bullshit. Like,
It is. So
when was it good?
I was about to say that, and you interrupted me again. Okay.
My bad. I'm
All
sorry.
right. So it was at its best when we had a thing called classical education here in America, specifically around the American founding. Classical education has a prioritization on Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, and the core canon of Greek thinking, which is that there is an abstract, distant good, the logos, which created the world, right? I want to try to find out more about what that is.
So you think that education should revolve around ethics then? You think it should be teaching
it's
people...
a big part of education, yes. I think that creating good people should be the #1 priority of education.
Okay.
Do you guys think that creating good people is a priority at Cal State Fullerton?
I don't think that that is really a thing that you can achieve, like, with a pointed... I don't think there's a way to really teach somebody... Being a good person is so hard, and it involves so many different factors.
I could prove to you how we could do it.
We're getting a little bit too general with things, because the Greeks and the Romans, they weren't really like... They had a lot of beliefs, okay? Plato and Aristotle were not like, let's do the most good. They were not all in agreement about all these different things. They had a lot of different
They had a teacher-student relationship. But let me ask you a question. Do you think people would commit more crimes or less crimes if they knew that a police officer was watching them at all times?
I don't think this is what we're talking about, bro.
You said you cannot teach people good. I'm asking a question. If somebody thought that somebody was watching their actions, would they behave differently?
I think that people behave differently when people watch
therefore,
their actions.
if society thought that there was a God that was watching all of their actions, would they behave differently?
Do you feel like you behave better when someone is watching your actions?
Absolutely. And in fact,
So you feel like you can't be good without someone there to observe
it's not a matter of you can't be good, is that you act better if you think that there is somebody watching and judging your actions.
That feels really unfortunate for you, because I want to do good because I think it's better for the people around me, not because someone's watching me. That's like the ideas of the panopticon.
Well, hold on a second. But if you believe that somebody is always watching your behavior, you'd be less likely to lie, less likely to steal.
So like Charlie said, this girl is a perfect example of why college education is a scam for so many people who go there. She is not capable of listening and engaging in a productive conversation.
So to answer your question, when was education at its best?
When was it good?
I was about to say that, and you interrupted me again.
The entire time she's talking, all she's trying to do is make herself look smart by name dropping and giving vague passing statements about the Indian Baghdad House of Golden Wisdom and the Greeks and Romans and the Panopticon.
That's like the ideas of the Panopticon.
Without actually engaging on more than a surface level about these ideas. And when Charlie tries to press her further, all of a sudden we're not talking about that, and she interrupts him with her dribble. Well, the Indian Baghdad House of Golden Wisdom that she's talking about, or if we call it what it really is, the House of Wisdom or the Grand Library of Baghdad, was an intellectual hub of the ancient Islamic world where they would have texts translated from Greek, Coptic, Syriac, and Persian for Arabic scholarship. Topics included astronomy, philosophy, theology, poetry, and much, much more. One of the most famous translators was a man by the name of Hunayn ibn Sharq, an Nestorian Christian scholar who was responsible for translating much of Plato and Aristotle. And why were these Muslims doing this? Because this was a movement dedicated to understanding God and his creation. So all scholarly work would benefit that endeavor. So she did a wonderful job there at proving Charlie's point. And then she tries to sound smart again by saying, well, that's like the ideas of the Panopticon, dude, which is a prison structure where all inmates are being watched by a single officer. And it's so easy to tell that she doesn't really know what she's talking about. She's just throwing terms out there. Because the Panopticon was a concept by a guy named Jeremy Bentham, who also founded utilitarianism, which is a branch of ethics. So obviously she's just done an Ethics 101 course and now is spurging terms. But obviously it doesn't make any sense because Charlie is referencing theology here, specifically the fear of the Lord being the beginning of wisdom. And this is not a utilitarian perspective. It wasn't constructed by people as a means of utility or for its positive consequence, like a prison system that is designed to keep the prisoners in line. It's the notion that there is an ultimate, true, good, and beautiful source, and we can anchor ourselves to that source through having a personal relationship with God. And without that relationship, without that fear, you're ultimately guided by your own naivety, ignorance, and propensity for evil, etc. But that's a deep wormhole, and it's no surprise that people don't want to engage with it. Because if you are so entrenched in your new age bullshit, as she so aptly described it, then if you engage with a guy like Charlie, you'll have your worldview torn apart with ease, which of course is about to happen as she tries to spurg more and speak fast and name drop and insult him and refuse to engage with the questions.
Less likely to cheat. And this is a good question because you're coming after this in good faith. Do you think human beings are generally naturally good or generally not so good? Are we flawed from our birth, or are we good, or are we a blank slate?
See, you're bringing up these Christian ideas of good again. I don't think we really come to the same synthesis on what a good person is.
Okay,
I feel like,
was Hitler good?
I feel like, again, you're not listening to me. I feel like we don't come to the same synthesis about what
I think
good
we will, though.
is, because for me, I think that something like good is, again, the question of ethics. It's not really a question of education, right? So you have to decide
but super simple. It's not a trick question.
decide for themselves is good is different, right? So Hitler thought what he was doing was good for his people. We do not see his actions as good because he was pretty awful to a lot of people. But when we turn things into an ethical question, he may see it as doing good for himself and God, because yes, a lot of people believe they're doing good for God, even if that thing is killing people.
Was Hitler doing something objectively wrong?
Which thing are you talking about? You're talking about the
concentration
genocide?
camps.
No, I don't like the concentration camps, believe it or not.
But hold on, you don't like. So was that objectively bad?
Objectively bad? I do think that hurting people is objectively bad.
Okay, so now we're believing in bad. So then good. There's a spectrum now. You said objectively bad, so you now just said there's a spectrum. It's not a matter of, well, somebody wanted to do some good for yourself. No. Now there's a spectrum. Concentration camp bad. So then let's get away from that. How about Mother Teresa? Good?
Are you talking about her actions in trying to help the poor?
Hundreds of thousands of poor people that were saved in India and Calcutta thanks to her sacrificial work over 30 years.
I don't know Mother Teresa like that, but can we go back to... I feel like we've gotten really off track.
No,
you're talking
about the most important thing because...
Hey, dude, you're interrupting me again.
Well, it is kind of our table. So,
so you can interrupt me, but I can't interrupt you.
Hold on. The fact you can't answer this question shows that college is a scam. Because if you can't say that Mother Teresa good and Hitler
Mother
bad...
Teresa denied anesthetics to people who were in serious pain because she thought the suffering would bring them closer to God. I think a lot of what she did could be considered...
that to be true.
Okay,
but I'll take
whatever. We can't just reference random things and use that, because right now we're talking about ideologies. Again, I find that what I consider to be good revolves more around the fact that humans are social creatures, and generally pro-social attitudes of promoting collectivism tends to be better for people just because that's in our evolutionary nature.
But
you are a Christian, so you believe that there's a guy watching you, and that's what makes you do good. You're
no,
like,
it's not.
If someone's watching me, I am more likely to be nice. But I want to be nice because I like how other
reasons to do good. I was asking the question that would you be more or less likely to shoplift if a police officer was next to you in a department store? It's a very simple ethical question.
But how does that make me good or not? That just makes me worried about consequences. No, it makes me worried about consequences, you little face man.
If you do not have consequences...
But consequences does not determine ethics.
The mark of an intellectual fool is throwing around pejoratives when they don't have wisdom. Remember that. So the question is this. If you do not believe there's a consequence to your action, why wouldn't you do the action?
See, that's, again, the ideology of consequentialism. I don't really subscribe to that.
There should be consequences.
No, but I think that consequences, your actions can exist outside of a vacuum of consequences, right? We can't make our decisions based on whether or not we think the actions will lead to a certain outcome, because those will always be random, right? So I revolve more around, we try to do things that we think will promote general pro-social attitudes. I think that is more likely to get us, other than worrying about that.
Let me ask you a hypothetical. This will tell me a lot. Is pedophilia wrong?
Pedophilia I consider to be wrong because it is actively damaging someone else, right?
But what if they say they're a minor attracted person and it's pro-social to be with a young person? Why are they wrong?
Do you know what pro-social means? Like, pro-social means, there's like pro-social and antisocial behaviors. It's like a theory of social psychology. Pro-social generally means like working together, socialization,
No, they're socializing with an 8-year-old. Why is that wrong?
Okay, that's not socializing, and you know it. Antisocial behavior usually means doing things that are considered rejecting socialization, like rejecting other people, pushing things away, promoting things that other people actively end up considering less
So then should
kind
pedophiles go to
society.
prison?
Pedophiles go to... I do not know what's the best way to handle pedophilia because... No, because how do we know... I don't think that anyone should molest a child, God forbid.
But hold on.
I really don't.
Why shouldn't a pedophile go to prison?
What? That's... Again, we're getting really off topic. Let's go back to the ideas of good and evil and
we're talking about college is a
consequentialism.
scam, and you're a perfect example, like one of the best
thank you.
I've ever seen
Thank
to
you.
show the intellectual drivel that is caught on a college
Okay,
campus.
because you think that I'm not being taught about the good, the pure. Well, let's go back to that because I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, the good, the true, and the, we'll do a couple more minutes. The good, the true, and the beautiful, yes.
Right, so you think that that's something that can be quantified, can be taught, and that it...
And experienced.
And not only that, that it should be taught, that
Yes.
we should promote the ideas of good and beauty to other people.
Correct.
Okay, but let's remove it from that. What about just the idea of... Because remember, the ancient Greeks and Romans that you love so much, they didn't have the same ideas of God in the same way that we do. But
That's
they
correct.
still... Thank you for saying I'm correct. That was really nice of you.
It's true, you're right.
So when they wanted to learn, when they sought out learning, when they had schools of learning and all that kind of stuff, a lot of the times they didn't just teach things around ethics. They taught other stuff. They taught astrology, they taught medicine, they taught science, they taught arts, and people wanted to learn that. Do you think that that ability, that experience of going into a place and saying, can you teach me more about this subject? Can I learn? Can I expand my worldview? Can I get open to different beliefs? Do you think that that should not be paid for or not be compensated?
First of all, it should definitely not be paid for. Secondly, it depends if those disciplines are rooted in the pursuit of truth, goodness, and beauty.
So you think
Let me
only
finish
if
once-
they're tied into something that falls in your
Hold on,
ideological
it's not my-
worldview?
Can I finish? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry,
If those
my bad.
disciplines are rooted in the good, the true, and the beautiful, absolutely. Let me give you a hypothetical example.
Okay.
So if you go, I don't know if this school has one, but if they have some sort of center for like feminist ideology or some sort of do they have one here? Then that is not in the pursuit of what is good, true, and beautiful. That is in the pursuit of how I can complain and hate men and get a degree and be paid for that.
So, like Charlie said, she is just a perfect example of why college is a scam for so many people, because the effect that it has is the opposite to what it should. They do not learn about wisdom or objectivity or humility for that matter, because a part of the process of gaining wisdom is to understand that you really know nothing and you're just out of high school and kind of retarded. You actually haven't put anything into practice in the real world, and you're at the stage of your development where you should be like a sponge trying to absorb as much knowledge from people older and wiser than you that you can. And if you think that you have the answers to the world's problems because you attended a few classes and then you talked about the ideas that you learnt from your blue-haired teacher with your blue-haired friends over some sushi at the cafeteria, then you need to seriously reassess. So I'm really glad that Charlie goes to these campuses and does these debates, because it is such a disrupting force to the woke hegemony that permeates these echo chambers that we call colleges. So I'll be covering a few more of these clips over the coming weeks. Keep your eye out for that. Make sure you guys have liked the video and subscribed to the channel if you're getting value. And if you guys would like to check out the Reality Based store, that's going to be right below with all of my links. If you'd like to watch another one, right here. Till next time, I'm Jake. This is RattlesnakeTV, keeping you armed and dangerous.